In our digital world, data is just everything. But here's the big question, right? How do all these companies learn from our data without actually knowing who we are? Well, today we're going to break down the two powerful techniques at the very heart of modern data privacy: anonymization and pseudonymization. All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at the big privacy dilemma. Then we'll meet our two privacy guardians. We'll put them head to head, see them in action, and then we'll talk about the big risk. And finally, we'll wrap it all up by talking about why any of this should matter to you. So let's start with this core conflict. Think about it. Every single day we're online, there's this constant pull, right? Companies need our data to make their services better, to give us those personalized experiences, to innovate. But at the same time, we need and want our personal info to stay private and secure. And that leads us to the million-dollar question, really. It's the central challenge that's basically created an entire field of data science. And the whole goal? It's simple. How do you pull all those valuable insights from data while still protecting the identities of the actual people behind it all? Okay, so to solve this puzzle, two main strategies have really come to the forefront. I like to think of them as the guardians of our digital identities. And yeah, they might look kind of similar on the surface, but believe me, how they work is fundamentally different. First up, we've got anonymization, and its goal is, well, pretty absolute. It's all about trying to completely and irreversibly sever that link between the data and you, the individual. It does this by stripping out any personally identifiable information. We call that PII. The obvious stuff: your name, your address, your social security number. And then, on the other side of the coin, you have pseudonymization. Now, this technique is different. It doesn't erase the link, it just hides it. It swaps out your sensitive data for a totally artificial ID, a pseudonym. The cool thing here is that the data can still be tracked and analyzed over time, but without exposing who you really are. So, there you have it. One method erases your identity, the other just masks it. Let's really put these two head to head so we can see the trade-offs. I love this analogy. It's a fantastic way to picture the difference. Think of anonymization like taking a big black marker to a sensitive document. Poof, that information is just gone for good. But pseudonymization? That's more like giving a spy a secret code name. You can track all their activities, but their true identity stays hidden. Well, as long as nobody breaks the code, right? Okay, and this right here, this is where it gets really interesting, because it's all about a fundamental trade-off. Anonymization, in theory, is way more secure because you can't reverse it. But, the big but, by stripping out all that detail, the data becomes a lot less useful for analysis. You just lose all the nuance. On the flip side, pseudonymization keeps the data's value super high, but it creates a major vulnerability. If a hacker gets their hands on the key that links the code names back to the real names, well, all that privacy just vanishes. All right, enough with the theory. Let's see how this actually works in the real world. We're going to take a super simple customer data set and watch it get transformed by both of these methods. Let's get to it. Okay, so here's our starting point, a totally basic customer list. You can see it all: Alice, Bob, their emails, where they live, what they bought. This is raw, classic PII, personally identifiable information. Okay, now watch this. We apply anonymization, and bam, the names and emails are just gone, wiped clean. And notice we've also generalized other bits of data, like turning a specific age into a broader age range. Now, there is absolutely no way to know for sure this data belongs to Alice or Bob. That link is completely broken. And now for round two, pseudonymization. See the difference? Instead of just deleting the identities, we've swapped them out for these unique user IDs. We can't see Alice or Bob anymore, but the company can still follow user 1A 2B's journey, track their purchases over time, and they can do all of that without ever needing to know their real name. But, and this is a huge but, here's the catch. Neither of these methods is a perfect silver bullet solution, because in the world of big data, there's this constant threat that's always kind of lurking in the shadows, even with the most protected data. It might sound like a total contradiction, but it's true. Anonymous data isn't always anonymous. And honestly, this is one of the biggest challenges in data privacy today. Even when you remove all the obvious stuff, these hidden fingerprints can still be left behind. So you're probably wondering, how does that even happen? Well, imagine an attacker gets a hold of your so-called anonymized data. Then they combine it with another dataset that's publicly available, like, say, voter records. By cross-referencing a few seemingly harmless data points, they can basically triangulate and figure out who you are. Or with pseudonymization, the goal is simpler. Just steal the key that connects all those secret code names back to the real people.
And here's the really scary part. It doesn't take much. A really famous study showed that for a whopping 87% of the US population, you could identify them using just 3 pieces of info: their zip code, their gender, and their date of birth. Think about that. That's stuff a lot of us share without a second thought. It just goes to show you how fragile this whole idea of anonymity really is.
Okay, so we've covered the tech, we've seen the examples, we've talked about the risks. Let's kind of zoom out now and bring it all together. What does all this actually mean for you and me every single time we go online? All right, if you remember anything from this, remember these 4 things. Number 1, anonymization is like a fortress. It erases your identity, but you lose a lot of the data's usefulness. Number 2, pseudonymization is the clever compromise. It masks your identity, keeping the data valuable, but it all hinges on keeping that secret key safe. 3, and this is the big one, no method is foolproof. Re-identification is always a threat. And finally, number 4, this whole thing is a constant balancing act between innovation and our right to privacy.
And that really leaves us with one final big question to think about. The line between useful data and personal privacy, well, it's not set in stone, it's being redrawn all the time. As our data gets more and more powerful, we have to ask ourselves, what price are we as a society willing to pay for privacy?